Good evening. On behalf of the Kansas Corporation Commission, I want to welcome everyone to tonight's public hearing. My name is Andrew French. I'm the chair of the Kansas Corporation Commission. Joining me are my colleagues, Commissioner Dwight Keene and Commissioner Annie Keither. And you can see both of them appear right now. To make participation in the hearing as convenient as possible for Southern Pioneer's customers, this hearing is being held virtually by Zoom with live streaming to YouTube. Please do bear with us if you experience any technical difficulties. We will try to get them resolved as quickly as possible, but crossing our fingers, that contingency will never appear. I will now call to order the public hearing in docket number 24 SPEE 415 TAR. This docket was initiated by Southern Pioneer to request to revise its rate design to address cross-class and inter-class subsidizations occurring under its present rate structure and to modernize its rates and tariffs. Your opinions are important to us, and we want to thank you for your participation. Tonight's hearing will operate in two parts. The first part of the meeting is an informational session. You will hear a brief presentation explaining the issues being addressed in the docket from representatives of Southern Pioneer, the Citizens Utility Ratepayer Board, known also as CURB, and from the Commission's technical staff. After the presentations, there will be an opportunity to ask questions. The Commission will not be present during the first part of this evening's public hearing, but at the conclusion of the Q&A, the Commission will rejoin the meeting to hear your public comments during part 2 of the hearing. I will now turn the hearing over to the Commission's General Counsel and Pre-Hearing Officer in this docket, Mr. Brian Fedotin. He will moderate part 1 of tonight's agenda. I hope you do find that informative, and we will see you again for part 2. So at this time, the Commission public hearing will stand in recess until the conclusion of part 1 of the hearing.
Thank you, Chair French. Good evening, everyone. As stated earlier, we'll begin part 1 with brief presentations from representatives of Southern Pioneer, CURB, and Commission's technical staff. At the conclusion of those presentations, there will be an opportunity for you to ask questions of our speakers. Keep in mind, the commissioners do not hear those questions, so anything you wish the commissioners to hear is better left for the comment portion in part 2 of the evening. Our first presenter will be Lindsay Campbell, CEO of Southern Pioneer, and my understanding is that, I'll introduce Ms. Campbell. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Lindsay Campbell, President and CEO of Southern Pioneer Electric Company. Here with me this evening to provide an overview of our application also is Chantry Scott, Southern Pioneer's Executive Vice President, Assistant CEO, and CFO. And we also have here to answer any questions that may arise, Rich Mackey, who is Vice President of Economics, Rates, and Business Planning at Power Systems Engineering, as well as other Southern Pioneer representatives. First, to start off, we would like to provide some background on Southern Pioneer. We at Southern Pioneer, we are a not-for-profit utility and a wholly owned subsidiary of Pioneer Electric Cooperative, both headquartered out of Ulysses, Kansas. We, like Pioneer Electric Co-op, operate on a not-for-profit basis, meaning we are not an investor-owned utility, so we have no profit motive and we have no shareholders for which we are beholden to. Rather, we exist solely to serve and are completely aligned with our customers' interests. Our mission is so much more than just an electric provider. Our mission is to be the regional provider of safe and reliable energy products in an innovative and competitive manner that help improve the lives of our customers and ultimately which help ensures the economic vitality of rural Southwest and South Central Kansas. We are only successful if our customers are successful, and we are fully invested in their success and want to be nothing but a great partner to them. Our industry is currently undergoing extreme change, the scale and impact of which is nothing like we have ever experienced. No longer are we living in a world of traditional power supply where our customers get all of their power supply from the utility like Southern Pioneer. Instead, our customers, they now have choices with regard to how and where they get their power. We are also experiencing an accelerated transition toward renewable energy resources like wind and solar. Most of these changes are being driven by federal and state policies, but it's also being driven by the creation of new and more efficient technologies. This transition of the grid presents some pretty significant challenges for us as a utility as it relates to ensuring reliable and affordable power. But at the same time, we also believe that it represents some unique opportunities and benefits for our customers. We are 100% committed to meeting our customers' desires in this new environment, but it does and it will take quite an effort to balance that with ensuring reliability and affordability of rates for everyone. Part of this effort includes ensuring we have modernized our rate structures to be able to adequately prepare for the proliferation of renewables and customer-owned generation. Modernization of our rates will help ensure that the fixed costs of the facilities that we have to have in place to serve the poles, the wires, the substations are equitably allocated among all of our customers, even those customers who choose to have their own on-site generation, for example, because we still have to have those facilities in place to serve as a backup source of power for those with renewable generation when the sun isn't shining or the wind isn't blowing. We did actually modernize our rate structure at Pioneer Electric Cooperative back in 2022, similar to what we are requesting approval of in the instant docket. And honestly, it has worked very well for our members thus far. And that's really the primary goal in the instant rate design filing that we have before the commission, to ensure that we have in place the appropriate rate structure and the appropriate price signals to be able to facilitate customer choices, whether it be with regard to renewable technologies, electric vehicles, or other technologies. And to be able to facilitate those choices without having to be concerned about adverse impacts on the rest of our customers. The proposed changes to our rate structures will help ensure fair and adequate rates to everyone by preventing unnecessary cost shifts to the majority of our customers who either choose or have to continue receiving all of their power from Southern Pioneer. Additionally, the rate design structure that we have in place was inherited from Aquila WPK when we acquired those assets more than 17 years ago. So there are several things within those rate structures that not only need updated or modernized, but we also think maybe they don't necessarily make sense anymore for Southern Pioneer and for our customers. So that is something that we are also attempting to address within this filing. So with that, I will now turn it over to Chantry Scott to explain the salient points of our filing in more detail.
Thank you, Lindsay. And I'll be working through a PowerPoint with you today. As Lindsay mentioned, I'm Chantry Scott. I'm the Assistant CEO and Chief Financial Officer for Southern Pioneer. We also have Rich Mackey here from Power Systems Engineering. Just some background on the application and direct testimony. We did file that in November of last year. And we did want to point out that we did have a RATA filing in January of this year to correct a small issue, the sub-transmission tariff, where we use the incorrect determinants. This impacts about 6 customers overall that are large industrial sub-transmission customers. We are expecting an order from this in this docket from the commission but by July 30th of this year. Overall, this is a revenue neutral rate redesign filing. What I mean by that is we have no overall increase or decrease requested for Southern Pioneer in terms of the overall revenue requirements. We do have a formula-based rate plan in place that serves that purpose and helps us establish our revenue requirements on an annual basis. This docket also, the proposal has no increase or decrease for any specific rate class. So we're not looking at changing revenue between classes. It's really just the rate design of the tariffs themselves. And it should be revenue neutral to those rate classes as well. Having said that, there are a few, within the rate class, customers may see an increase or a decrease depending on their individual customer usage and their profiles. So why are these rate redesign changes needed? As Ms. Campbell discussed, Southern Pioneer proposes to modernize its rate design and prepare for the changes that we're seeing in our industry. This rate design better aligns prices with cost causation by recovering more fixed costs or fixed charges. The rate design also provides better rate signals to our customers to help them make more informed analysis and decisions about the different technologies that they have to serve their needs. Things like distributed generation, electric vehicles, and so forth. The rate design also allows Southern Pioneer to better protect customers from unfair cost shifting. The rate design assists Southern Pioneer in identifying the appropriate rate classes for customers. So some of these changes are really have to do with the qualification section of the various tariffs over the years since we acquired the facilities and the rates came across. We've identified several areas where the qualification standards are hard to understand and create some frustration for our customers and for our employees. The rate design also removes punitive rate provisions. For example, the proposal reduces the ratchet demand minimum for our general service large industrial rates. I'll speak to that more later on in the presentation. And lastly, it improves administrative efficiencies by better aligning Southern Pioneer tariffs with those of Pioneers. Since we have employees that serve customers for both Pioneer and Southern Pioneer, such as our billing department or CSRs, the more that we align the rate structures between the two companies, the easier it is to train employees and administer programs. We also have customers that take service from both Pioneer and Southern Pioneer. So the more we align the rate structures and the tariffs, it also helps our customers in those situations to better understand the tariffs that they're operating under, taking service under. So next, I just want to walk through some of the individual tariffs and some of the larger items that we're asking for in this proposal. Southern Pioneer currently has two tariffs that group customers based on the type of customer. The residential and general service small. This creates confusion for Southern Pioneer and its customers because each new service has to be reviewed to determine whether it is truly residential or is it a business or a hunting cabin or an Airbnb or a bed and breakfast. So each one we have to determine which tariff they belong on. Southern Pioneer proposes that we change the two tariffs from residential and general service small to single phase service and three phase service, grouping customers by the type of facility needed to serve the customer rather than by the type of service itself. This aligns with the structure that we have on the Pioneer side for our small single phase and three phase services. So it'll help with administrative efficiencies between the two companies. This structure also will help eliminate much of the confusion for the company and for its customers when determining which tariff is applicable to their situation. Second, we also propose to make changes to the monthly customer charge, introduce a monthly demand charge with a corresponding decrease to the monthly kilowatt hour delivery charge. This modernizes the rate design and better aligns prices with cost causation. Again, these changes will not increase or decrease the total revenue collected by Southern Pioneer for this rate schedule. For general service large, currently, if a customer goes above 10 kW, they are moved to general service large. This causes many customers to bounce back and forth between various tariffs throughout the year. Southern Pioneer proposes to change the qualification where the customer must go above 10 kW for 3 consecutive months before they're moved to the general service large tariff. This will greatly reduce the number of customers being bounced back and forth between tariffs. Secondly, we propose to reduce the kW from the free kW allowance in the tariff from 9 kW down to 7 kW. And then the last 2 bullets make changes to the current minimum demand ratchet, which bills the highest kW from the last 11 months if it is more than the current month's kW demand. The 100% demand ratchet causes much aggravation with our customers and can be viewed as punitive, especially seasonal customers or customers with volatile kW demand. So for example, if a customer hits a peak demand or they have a process that only operates once a month or once a year, and it establishes a relatively high demand, and they don't do that process the remainder of the year, they're still billed at that same demand that was established in that 1 month. And so this does create some hardship for our customers and some additional expense. Southern Pioneer proposes to reduce the kW ratchet from 100% down to 50% of the highest demand for the last 11 months. This will still provide for us and ensure that we recover the costs for the facilities needed to serve those customers, but it isn't as punitive as the full 100% ratchet would be as it is today. For our industrial service tariff, we are proposing to eliminate the current monthly 10 kW free allowance on billing demand. And then much like the general service large, we want to reduce the current billing demand ratchet from 75% of the highest peak in the last 11 months down to 50%, again, to align with the change that we're making on the general service large. Water pumping service, this is the changes here are similar to the other tariffs to align prices with causation. So you can see a change in the customer charge and the addition of a monthly demand charge and then corresponding decrease to the kilowatt hour delivery charge. Again, these changes will not increase or decrease the total revenue for the classes. Municipal lighting service, this has, we want to, in the qualification section, better define what types of services qualify for municipal lighting. And then also, like the other tariffs that I've discussed, align prices with cost causation. And then finally, sub-transmission, the STR tariff, similar to the changes made in the other rate classes. Here we're proposing to convert the monthly delivery energy charge on kW basis to, or kWh basis to an NCP kW demand charge. Again, to match what we've done on many of the other tariffs in terms of overall rate structure. So I want to thank you for your time tonight. I hope that you found our presentation informative. I will turn it back over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Scott. Our next speaker will be Todd Love with CURB. Mr. Love.
Thank you. Trying to get off of mute and onto the screen. So I think Michelle has some PowerPoint for my presentation. Okay. Hello, my name is Todd Love. I'm an attorney with the Citizens Utility Ratepayer Board, often known as CURB. CURB is a small state department tasked with appearing before the Kansas Corporation Commission on behalf of residential and small commercial ratepayers. Please change the screen. CURB was created in 1989 and has been active in KCC dockets ever since. Please change the screen. CURB staff is made up of consumer counsel David Nickel, 2 attorneys, 3 analysts, and 2 administrative professionals. Change the screen, please. CURB appears before the legislature, the KCC, and the appellate courts. Please change the screen. CURB's role in these dockets is to appear as an advocate, present evidence, and comment on how rates should be structured. Change the screen, please. With that out of the way, I'm here tonight to discuss, obviously, this docket 24 SPEE 415 TAR, an application by Southern Pioneer to make certain changes to its rate design. Southern Pioneer filed this application November 30th, 2023, in which they request a number of changes to the rate design. The 3 major concerns of CURB are the change in the approach of the classifying service between residential and general service small to classify them based on a single phase and 3-phase power supply. The request to increase the customer charge from $14.67 to $16.67. The request to include a demand charge of $3 per kW for single phase and 3-phase service. In regard to the reclassification of the residential and small general service, Southern Pioneer contends the change in the phase classifications will remove some of the challenges it faces to equitably determine residential versus non-residential service. Since both residences and businesses can be co-located at the same premise. The vast majority of current residential customers would be converted to single-phase service, with less than 1% of the residential customers being moved to 3-phase service. However, around 24% of general service small customers would be moved to a single-phase service. As to the customer charge increase, Southern Pioneer is requesting to increase customer charge by $2 a month. They believe this will help offset the cost of providing service to its customers. CURB obviously always has a concern with customer charges and the increase, and we're looking at that very carefully. Further, Southern Pioneer requests demand charges not optional or voluntary. If approved, all residential ratepayers and customers will become subject to the demand charge. The amount requested is the demand charge is $3 per kW. Under the proposal, the demand charge will be based on each customer's peak demand average for a 15-minute interval during the entire month. While CURB has not yet taken a position on these matters, we have retained an expert consultant to review the application and make recommendations. Once we have determined our position on these matters, they will file them in the docket, which we hope to do so in the near future. Please change the screen. With that, I would like to thank you for your time and appreciate your appearance tonight before the commission. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Love. Our final presenter tonight will be Kyler Weiniger of the commission staff. Kyler, or Mr. Weiniger.
Thank you, Mr. Fedotin. And Michelle, do you have my slides?
Yes, get them up in just a sec.
Well, I guess just to get going, I don't need the first slide, but my name is Kyler Weiniger. I'm an attorney with the commission, and I'm here tonight to give a high-level overview of the commission and how it operates, as well as to explain how my clients, technical staff of the commission, will be analyzing Southern Pioneer's application. For clarity's sake, I do not represent the commission as an agency or the commissioners. Rather, I strictly represent the group of state employees who make up the commission staff in the utilities division. The commission is a state agency headed by 3 commissioners who are appointed by the governor and serve staggered 4-year terms. The commissioners collectively act as a body in determining matters that come before them. The current commissioners are Chair Andrew French, Commissioner Dwight Keene, and Commissioner Annie Keither. The commission has jurisdiction to oversee a number of industries that operate in Kansas, from electric and natural gas to telecommunications to oil and motor carriers. The commission employs a staff of professionals who are available to provide guidance and input on the various technical issues that are involved in regulation of these industries. Next slide, please. Well, administrative hearings at the commission look very similar to what you would see at a district court. The commissioners here act as judges. They will hear and weigh the evidence. Witnesses testify in front of them, and the commissioners issue orders that can be appealed to higher courts. Staff acts as a party to the case, and they develop and defend their own positions, recognizing that staff's duty is owed to the state of Kansas and the general public. In a couple of clicks, there should be a visualization of how it's all set up. At the top are the three commissioners. Parties here involve Southern Pioneer, commission staff, and numerous interveners representing a variety of interests. As you can see, all of these groups are separate parties to the case. And just like a court, it's the attorney's job to present their client's case to the commissioners. Commission staff are dedicated state of Kansas employees that have a tremendous amount of education, professional knowledge, and training in technical fields such as accounting, economics, engineering, and complex financial analysis. During proceedings before the commission, staff advocates for the general public, which is another way of saying that staff's main goal is promoting the public interest of the state of Kansas as a whole. This means staff attempts to weigh numerous competing interests and develop its own position that it believes is best for all stakeholders involved. So, for example, there are many different interests at play in this proceeding. Most of you are here tonight are members of the general public who are here because you might be impacted by a change in the rates on your electric bill. Each of the parties in this docket have their own interests that they are seeking to promote, to preserve in the course of this proceeding. Staff has the ever-challenging job of objectively evaluating all of the opinions in this matter and providing an independent, neutral, and balanced recommendation that furthers the public interest of the state as a whole. Next slide, please. So back to the commission's role. Commission staff are conducting an independent review of Southern Pioneer's proposal. This review includes an in-depth examination of Southern Pioneer's finances, which allows staff to evaluate the application for accuracy and for compliance with Kansas law and the commission's regulations. The investigation also includes identification of any positive or negative impacts on customers, on Southern Pioneer, and the public generally. During this investigation, staff will determine which costs the utility is entitled to recover in rates. That is, the costs necessary to provide electric service, and those costs that are not appropriate to recover from customers. Finally, staff also evaluates the structure of the utilities rates to ensure that they are fair and are based on the underlying costs to serve those customers. After its investigation is complete, staff will submit written testimony that indicates its position on the application. Staff actively participates in the rate case process by advocating for its position. Staff's role is not to help one party over another, but rather to provide independent assistance to the commissioners in balancing competing interests and evaluating the total impact of the application on the public interest. Here's just kind of a overview that staff's testimony will be due April 2nd. And if you wish to access that testimony after it's filed, you can go to the commission's website and click on commission activity. Go to the docket details tab and then search this docket number. If after reviewing staff's testimony, you would like to make a public comment, you may do so through the KCC website under the Your Opinion Matters button. And additionally, staff is present tonight to address any questions. The main material deadlines in this docket are shown on the screen. Under the current schedule, the public comment period will end at 5 p.m. on May 17th. So if you intend to submit a comment in this
15th.
15th,
Yes.
okay, on the 15th, my error. Thank you, Mr. Fedone. So if you intend to submit a comment in this docket, you must submit your comments by 5 p.m. on May 15th. Finally, I want to leave with information on how you can submit a public comment in the docket or follow the case on the commission's website. First way you can make a comment is here tonight following these presentations, or you can send your comments to our public affairs office online, by mail, or by the phone. The information for each of these options is on the screen. You can also follow these proceedings on our website by going to the docket filings tab and entering the docket number, and you will see all the filings that have been made. Thank you for coming out and your participation in this public hearing, and we look forward to any comments you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Weiniger. We'll now take questions from the public for Southern Pioneer, CURB, and commission staff. If you are registered or as a participant in the Zoom meeting, let us know that you have a question by using the raise hand function. When your name is called, your microphone will be unmuted. Please limit yourself to one question until others have had an opportunity to ask questions. That way everybody has an opportunity to speak. Please refrain from any appropriate language. It could result in us silencing your microphone. And please direct your question to a particular entity, whether it's Southern Pioneer, CURB, or commission staff. I'd like to remind everyone that the formal public comment period portion of the hearing does not begin until the commissioners rejoin us in part 2. So now feel free to ask questions, but save any comments until then. So we're ready for questions. I'm looking to see if anybody's raised their hands, and so far I don't see any hands. Give it a couple. Oh, I see a hand. Yeah, Gary Garcia, and let me unmute you. Or
Okay, can you hear me now?
yes,
Okay.
yes, Mr. Garcia, please ask your
This-
question.
This is directed directly to Southern Pioneer. My question is, why are you just making a one rate on the KW for both single phase and 3-phase residential service? I mean, to me, there's more infrastructure on the 3-phase service, so I would think the rate for KW should be higher for 3-phase than single phase. That's my question.
Yeah, thank you for your question, Gary. This is Rich Mackey representing Southern Pioneer. That's a good question. There are more facilities involved in serving 3-phase versus single phase. That's one reason to separate them on that basis. The difference will still be acknowledged through the different customer charge that the customers will pay to take 3-phase service. But in the cost of service study, we see that the cost per KW is actually very similar between both the single phase and 3-phase. So at this point, it's being the demand charge is being introduced to these tariffs And I guess in the interest of gradualism, we're starting them both at $3. Hope that answers your question.
Yes, thank you.
Sorry, I was muted. I'm not seeing any other hands as of yet. So if there's anybody that would like to ask questions, again, please use the raise hand function and we'll call on you. I'm not seeing any participants that other than Mr. Garcia. Mr. Garcia, I guess you have an opportunity if you have any other questions to ask. There's not a long line right now. Okay, I don't see that we have any other questions. I'll give it just another minute to be sure that we don't have anybody, and then we can move on to portion part 2 of tonight's hearing. Well, thank you to everyone who participated in the Q&A session. I guess we'll pause for a moment to allow the commissioners to get back to the hearing, and we'll begin part 2 of tonight's hearing. Thank you.
They're probably good.
All right, it looks like we've got all 3 commissioners and everybody else. So I am reconvening the Kansas Corporation Commission public hearing regarding docket number 24 SPEE 415 TAR. Again, Southern Pioneer initiated this docket to revise its rate design to address alleged cross-class and intra-class subsidizations occurring under its present rate structure and to modernize its tariffs. As I noted earlier, my name is Andrew French. I'm chair of the Kansas Corporation Commission. I and my colleagues, Commissioners Dwight Keene and Annie Keither, do again thank you for attending this public hearing this evening. The hearing is on the record, and this transcript will become an important part of the docket file. Let's start with appearances of counsel for each of the parties, please, and I will begin with Southern Pioneer.
Okay. Are we on? Okay. Good evening, commissioners. Thank you, Chairman French. This is Glenda Kafer and Trevor Wolford of Morris Lang Law Firm appear on behalf of the applicant, Southern Pioneer.
Good evening. Thank you. And now for Curb.
This is, excuse me, this is Todd Love, attorney with Curb, appearing on behalf of the Citizens Utility Ratepayer Board.
Thank you, Mr. Love. And for commission staff.
Good evening, Chair French. Kyler Weiniger on behalf of commission staff.
Good evening, Mr. Weiniger. Now we'll move to notice of this hearing. Does staff have a recommendation regarding whether notice of this hearing was proper?
Yes, Chair. Staff recommends a finding that notice was proper.
All right. Are there any objections? Hearing no objections, I will find that this public hearing was properly noticed and the commission has jurisdiction at this time and place. Again, as I mentioned, this is an important step in our process and we look forward to hearing your comments. We cannot engage in dialogue with you during the proceeding. However, we may ask questions for clarification. So now we will turn to public comments if there are some, and I will go ahead and turn to Brian Fedotin to lead us through that portion.
Thank you, Chair French. At the outset, I just want to mention that in addition to comments made tonight, the commission is accepting public comments on its website, by mail, or by calling our public affairs office through May 15th at 5 p.m. All comments carry equal weight with the commission regardless of how they're provided. So similar to the Q&A session that we just completed, Zoom participants, please raise your hand using the raise hand feature, and I will call on you to make your comment before the commissioners. Please begin by stating your name and the city you reside in. Is there anybody that would like to make a comment this evening? I'm not seeing any hands raised yet. It looks like we have one member of the public with us on Zoom right now. While we're giving everybody just a second, maybe IT, can we put back the last slide from the commission's presentation that just shows how to make comments? We'll do that while we're seeing if anybody has any comments they want to make. Okay. Obviously, I'm not hearing or seeing any hands. So Chair French, I don't know if you want to take the floor back or if you want to wait a few minutes.
I'm happy to take it back from you. I don't think you were able to shake any comments loose, Brian. We'll have to talk about that later. All right. Well, I think we have given opportunity for public comments, but as everyone saw, there is an opportunity to get in additional comments. So do want to thank everybody for their attendance this evening. The commission does appreciate this step in the proceeding. And we do appreciate public comments, whether they come in oral form or written form. In terms of next steps, the commission will hold an evidentiary hearing on this matter beginning on June 4th at 10 a.m. The hearing will be broadcast on the Kansas Corporation Commission's YouTube channel, and the commission will issue a final decision in this matter on or before July 30th, 2024. This does conclude the public hearing, and I would entertain a motion for adjournment.
I move that we adjourn.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor, please vote aye.
Aye.
Aye.